You all can hear me so far? I have 15 minutes, right? Thanks for World AI Show and TRISCOM for inviting me. It's a topic that I've been talking about for the last 7 years. In fact, it's something I've been thinking about for the last 36 years. Why I say last 36 years? In 1986, I was a computer scientist doing AI research in the US. That's 36 years ago. And gone through first wave of AI and second wave of AI now that's happening. But this is a topic that I'm very passionate about, not just from the research perspective, it's also from the impact as well as commercial venture building perspective. So the topic is sustainable AI for humanity. All the clarification I want to start with is when you talk about sustainability, the first impression you thought is about climate change, right? It's about environment. Actually, this topic is about dual. It's about as much as AI can empower sustainability, it's also about sustainability of AI itself as a survival, as a technology. So I'm going to bypass the abstract. So the agenda is how do you connect backward? You need to look back into history to understand about sustainable AI. If you don't have enough history, you will not know where you should go forward. Second, based on my observation in the last 5-6 years, what are the AI dilemma? Also based on my experience in the last 36 years. Third, how do you think forward with sustainable AI? AI itself is not good enough. It has to be sustainable. So I start with a few charts before I get into all the agenda. I'm sure all of you may have seen the GPT-3, right? OpenAI, which is a large language model. A lot of hype about it, a lot of power about it as well. Very interesting technology. In China, where Wudao by BAI, they also do something similar. Everybody are doing that right now with big computational model to build the next generation AI based on the machine learning and deep learning paradigm. And of course, we have DALL-E. Some of you may have a chance to play with it before. DALL-E is a multi-model AI by OpenAI as well, and they allow you to generate images based on natural language description. That means you can go and describe, you generate into the picture. So this is a famous picture where if you type in, I want an astronaut riding on a horse in the photorealistic style, the AI will generate for you. This is something of a generative AI. While this is very, very powerful, because I personally use Google a lot, even before all this, to be generative idea for me. If I need an image, I go to Google and search. This is where I get my presentations, images from, based on my innovation. Actually, very good for creative application. But it can also be very dangerous. It can generate a lot of deep fakes and a lot of misinformation. So recently, there's a big controversy about AI is sentience at Google. There's a lot of controversy about this. People thinking that AI is actually conscious, not conscious. A lot of ethical debate. Stephen Hawking, in 2014, one of the smartest guys, talked about maybe humanity will suffer from AI if we are not careful. I personally feel that there's a possibility, even though there's 1% or even 0.1%, we need to watch out for it. We need to do something about it before AI become a teenager. Same thing, Elon Musk has talked about it, and there's a risk involved in doing that. Per my experience in the AI over the 36 years, going through all the evolution, I feel that there's a risk. In fact, we already experienced it in the last 10-15 years with the social media, resulting in the US election as well as the Brexit. So you can see algorithm can do a lot of harm. And sometimes we may not, as humanity, we may not have the bad intention, but it may not be in our control. Just like stock market can get out of control, we can get out of control as well. So the future of AI, I'm sure in the industry, all of you are looking into different applications, right? I feel that we are entering the VUCA era, where AI is leading us to be very volatile. Every day, new research breakthrough, leading to new tool, new way of using it, very uncertain. If you use machine learning and deep learning based on data, there are a lot of ethical issues about biases, etc. Also, the data are constantly changing. Uncertainty is definitely one challenge. Complexity. AI is a very complex technology. If you go talk to the market today, especially the latest generations of AI scientists, they are all data scientists. But AI, data-driven AI, is only a recent phenomenon in terms of industry applications. There has been a round of knowledge-based AI in the 80s and the 90s, based on logic and etc. We tend to forget because we have never trained our latest scientists to be doing that. So what you're seeing is just a small fraction of AI, which is making a major breakthrough with machine learning and deep learning. But that doesn't represent the entire AI technology. And last but not least, AI technology based on data-driven algorithm can be very ambiguous, very uncertain. So when you use it for business application or mission-critical application, you really need to be careful. If you listen to my panel earlier with the 3 experts, we talk about sometimes AI can actually create more problem than creating goods. The question is how do you find the right balance? So as such, I'm going to begin my presentation. That is the beginning of the whole setting. So let's quickly go back to history. AI has a wide range of technology. What you're seeing in terms of machine learning, deep learning is just this part. There has been a whole lot of logic-based, knowledge-based, and probabilistic method that has been developed over the last 50 over years. These are very powerful tools. They were not able to be applied in many domains because the computational power doesn't exist then. But computer power has become a lot more powerful. There's also embodied intelligence. Go and check out Stanford University. Professor Li Feifei, she's working on embodied AI, a very promising area of AI that I felt also worth to look at. So, this chart is a standard chart on the history of AI from the 60s to 2020. There was 3 booms, and there was a boom of GOFA, a good old classical AI. Then there's expert system, knowledge-based system that happens in the 80s and the 90s. And then there is machine learning era that we are going through right now. So AI has gone through 2 winters from the research perspective. From the industry perspective, there was a big hype of AI around this time, especially in the Boston and the Bay Area. That wave of AI actually received a lot of investment and lots of hype, but it went to a winter. And then now AI is coming back. So I'm very happy AI has come back, but I'm also concerned about some of the things that we have gone through. So I myself was very lucky to be involved in this wave. There's this research lab called MCC. That was a lab I was at. And this is called the 5th Generation Computer Project by Japan. That was a time when US and Japan was competing on AI technology, much like what's happening today in the world right now. So there's a wave of research that's going on. And then one of my doctorate dissertation is about AI governance. That is about 30 years ago. And this technology is going to make a comeback soon, in my opinion, because the computational power doesn't exist yet. And of course, I was working with a Stanford University startup who moved the headquarters to Austin, Texas, which is an AI company, but transformed into an enterprise software company. So this is my background and experience. So in AI, in the AI field, how many of you heard of these languages called the LIST? Oh, good. If you are truly AI, you need to know. If you do not know LIST, you do not know AI, in my opinion. Why? I'll come back to that. Second, there's a language called Prolog, called Programming in Logic. If you are in truly AI, you will understand that. This is not like any other programming language. One of the guiding principles is that when people look at machine learning, it's about learning. For me, learning is not the only part. It's very, very important part, characteristic of AI. One of the things about AI with this language is that it's self-modifying. It's that we humans know how to modify ourselves. That's what the AI technology is. It is also what is making it powerful. It's also what is making it scary. Imagine you keep changing yourself just like a human being, right? You may not know what you are building towards. So I think there's a paradigm shift with the AI 2.0 based on machine learning and deep learning because data-driven thing can be very chaotic, but it can be very powerful as well. So one of the things we are going through is AI dilemma. So different reports has talked about why AI many projects has failed. Why very few of them can scale? And there's an Element AI started by Turing Award winner Yoshi Benjo. Actually, they came to Singapore. They actually did not succeed, even though they have raised a lot of money. Of course, some of the report in China talk about some of the AI, many of the company there, why they are not facing challenges. The 4 largest AI company are actually facing financial problem as well. It's actually tough to be profitable. So if you're in the investment business, this is a good example to look at. So there is actually a report written by a student from MIT, talk about what happened in the 80s and 90s, about why AI did not survive that period. A lot of good lesson learned. And basically, very academic bias, very academic scientific founder, never crossed the chasm from technology into the industry, underestimate the skill needed by the customer. The bank may not even know how to use AI efficiently because it's getting very, very complex. And of course, they actually miscalculated where the product could be create values. And that one needs to be addressed. Again, this report is actually downloadable. If you want, I can send to you as well. So I feel that AI actually are facing a dilemma right now. AI for good, it can be used for bad, right? AI ethics problem, very gray area. AI as a superpower competition. In fact, that is being used in military as well as one of these fear about existential threat for human if AI become awakened. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but as humanity, we need to get ready for that. And there are things we could do to do so. So AI at the crossroad. Forward with sustainable AI. Well, one of the inspiration I got is from Isaac Asimov. It's about we have developed science and actually create a lot of knowledge, but our wisdom has not caught up. And part of it is something we need to address. So sustainable AI is about addressing 4 areas of AI. One is technologically sustainable. Right now, is machine learning, deep learning sustainable? I do not think so. It's very powerful, but it's not good enough. Second, is it commercially sustainable? I saw a number of vendors here who are doing data as well as doing machine learning ops. I think that area needs to be addressed. Lots of potential there. Needs to address. The cost of producing AI is just getting too uncertain and too expensive. It's the same thing that happened in the 80s and 90s with the knowledge-based AI. And third, we need to make sure AI has impact. Richie, Dr. Lee mentioned about we make sure it has impact. The United Nations 17 goal is a very important reference, as well as ESG. Last but not least, we need to have sustainable governance. If AI went out of control, we don't have the right governance, our ethics and many other things will suffer. These are big topics, and this is where the IIII, the institute I have, focus on doing research with different individuals and university as well. So basically, fundamental question, how humankind think, learn, and evolve, there's more the scientific questions that needs to be addressed. Second, what AI should be allowed to do. We should think about that really carefully. And third, how people, society, and enterprise should change. So this is a roadmap that we have been working on research. Feel free to take a pictures. Basically, I felt that we need to work on the next generation AI called AI 3.0. I've been trying to get the university, professor, A-star to work on this problem in Singapore. This is one of the initiatives. Because I feel that Singapore, at least ASEAN, we do want to do something in this area while leaders like US, Canada, China could be doing it. Second area is AI industrialization. We need to make production of AI efficient, cost-effective. Right now, it's too uncertain, it's too risky. Third, we need to do AI for good. So the United Nations SDG and ESG are important areas to align to. I'm glad for the panel that was organized. Last but not least, wisdom-driven AI. Humanity has been around for thousands of years. We have collected a lot of wisdom. Right now, all the wisdom are in piece of paper. We need to do something called computational governance. We need to develop a new form of technology, what I call AI for good. That means you need to develop technology to make sure we do it, because we can't use human manual way of doing it. That is a research problem to be addressed. In general, we also need tech for good. So this is an area of investment. I know we have a lot of VC on the ground here. Look into this area. I love to work with y'all. And for good as well. Because this is something we need to watch out for. We need money, we need the talent to make it happen, right? So, quickly, for those who are familiar, there's a lot of thinking about AI, about system 1, system 2, about how we human think. We human has a fast thinking, like unconscious kind of thinking. This is a psychology theory by a Nobel Prize winner. And so there's system 2 with a slow thinking, we make logical thinking. So this is from the psychology perspective. But a lot of the computational model from AI 1.0 and 2.0 actually are linked to this. And human has a way of transitioning between that. This technology needs to be cultivated. At the same time, we have researchers who are some of my ex-colleagues in the US who have developed the so-called integration of different generations of AI. I felt this is the right direction because it helped to address wisdom, governance, ethics, trust, and risk. Because we have to blend the technology to do so. And of course, Turing Award winner, Yann LeCun, he's also working on something called autonomous AI. He's at Facebook right now, he's at NYU as well. These are a very interesting area to look into. Of course, inspiration from, again, Isaac Asimov about the 3 laws of robotics. If you have not looked at it, do look at that. It's talking about what kind of basic rule we need to have. But right now, it's just verbally as a few statements. But we need to make it computational. Otherwise, we cannot enforce it. So, of course, we have to look into other technology like blockchain to help us building trust for AI. This is something I'm looking into from the research perspective. As we all know, now we move into the Web3 and Metaverse world. It may seem like it's not related to AI. With my last slide, I'd like to share that all these things are actually connected. Because I've gone through the AI path from AI 1.0, 2.0, I believe it's going to go 3.0. The internet has gone from 1, 2, and Web3 with the blockchain and virtual world, now we get into Metaverse. But ultimately, to deliver value, enterprise system needs to be built. And my vision is that after the CRM, e-commerce, and O2O, is something what we call the autonomous enterprise. Thank you very much.